like actually switching dots. Tinder doesn't work, and I grab the Rama while Dark Mantle is going to grab the Apollo. But grabbing Erlang Shen and Thoth Inhumans going for a pretty similar draft. Aside from losing Rama to the enemy to the other team, but Apollo is going to be a perfectly fine pickup. Going to see if Dark Mantle can't use that to a better tune than Tinder did.
Yep. Both. It's going to be interesting if we see perhaps a different game in the carry lane with Rama long range clear. As long as Tinder knows how to actually use them, it should be a pretty good fight.
I think it'll be a good fight. I think Tinder realized exactly who he's going against in Dark Mantle and that he needs to clean up his ward game. He needs to worry about his boxing attempts to make sure that he really is fighting for something that's worth it, not just fighting to fight, knowing that Dark Mantle will probably get the upper hand. He has to play a different kind of game to try and get the advantage over him.
He has to go for the strong one-hit kills, I guess. Just hope for those shots.
Yes, a bit different in the banning phase. Medusa, Odin, Bellona, and Robin all going to be banned out here, but Fafnir and Terra are going to be taken away from Inhumans. Krabby Krew noticing that the Terra was pretty prominent for God's Hitman, but banning Fafnir away, I think knowing that God's Hitman could also use that to a pretty effective degree. Tyler Stewart, however, going to lock in Vamana instead of the Hercules, even though Hercules was on the table. Going to lock in the Vamana. Wasn't confident with him last game. Going to see if he can win using a different God.
Yeah, Ramana, a really good god. In my opinion, I don't know how most people don't seem to like him very much, but with his ultimate and his escape, he's pretty good. Looks like Minicle's gonna go Zonkoi solo lane against this
We've seen a
against
Minicle.
Ramana just to counter him.
We've seen a Minicle's Jean-Quay before, and I have no doubt that it's going to give everything Tyler Stewart can take. It's going to give him everything he can handle. His Jean-Quay is very clean, very safe, and very good. And his ultimates, when he gets them off in a team fight, they're usually pretty effective. So, very similar team comp. Only switching out only switching out three roles. They have the Erlang Shen and the Thoth as their core, but again, going for a three-man front line, Jean-Quay can be pretty tanky, so he can front line as well with Apollo and Thoth in the back line on the side of Krabby Krew, looking like they're going to be hovering on the Kabrak, and an early game pick coming out here, or an earlier in the season pick going to be coming out late.
I'm surprised, and that's to give you some seed on, switch on to the Erlang Shen, then prioritizing the Thoth over the Erlang Shen. Great choice and pickups for them.
Yes, the lane I think I'm going to be most curious to see if it works in their favor. Mawo going to be locking in the Soul instead of going back to a Isis. I think Soul is a pretty good pick right now. Has great burst, but a much more auto attack oriented character. You don't have to build Fatalis or any attack speed items, but you have to make sure that you hit those autos well and combo correctly and auto attack cancel to make sure you get the maximum damage that Soul can provide.
I agree. I think Minicle saw the Vamana pick, lock in Zonkoi just to counter the Vamana. The Vamana has to build physical protection to get that power buff from his passive. And against Zonkoi, he can't do that.
He doesn't have to build pure magical protections to get the Jonquay, but I think going a bruiser item like a robe maybe, or at least getting something that, or even a Mark of the Vanguard just to try and counter the dot damage that Jonquay deals. I think if he's smart, he can grab the items that he'll be most comfortable with, and if he can get an upper hand against the Jonquay, he doesn't really have to worry about magical protections until maybe third or fourth item. But I think early in the game, if he struggles against a Minicool, then yes, he's going to have to grab something like a Heart Ward or a Pestilence to try and counter him out.
I agree. What kind of combos do you expect to see out of both teams?
I think same as last game, just two-man groupings on the side of the Inhumans between Sidon and whatever player he decides to partner up with to try and get picks in First Blood, and starting with him, just start rolling the rest of his players towards the end game and allowing Potty Racer and Dark Mantle to come up big in the late and in the end game. But for Krabby Krew, I think it's going to depend on how well this Naja Sneaky Weaver does on this Naja. If he doesn't hit his abilities, if he gets caught out, without the ultimate online, Naja is literally a sitting duck. She can sash to an enemy, sure, but if you're in trouble, going closer to an enemy really isn't going to be your best tactic. But I think between and I also want to see how Jack without Dexter does with that Kabrak, and not a very popular pick right now, and I don't think he's the best support, but if they're going for comfort picks here and seeing if they can't put together a team comp that nobody else realized was as good as it was, maybe they can sneak a win here, but I think it's going to be pretty hard considering how convincingly Inhumans took them the game before.
Yep. Inhumans really, them doing a great job boxing them the early game there, but just falling apart in mid to late game. Costing them a huge landslide victory.
The early game wasn't flashy, and it was only 0-3. But at one point in the early game, when they were only down 0-3, they had a 2,000 gold deficit, and that's where a team with a lead, as long as they recognize it, can start rolling into the end game with the extra items.
Do you think we'll see some hot plays out of Superman Capri again with God's Hitman?
I think God's Hitman has just been a pretty good support on their end, a very different style. From what I've seen from regular supports that I've played with, we have very hyper aggressive supports, but he's much more of a meticulous guy. He likes to, especially with a god like Kepri, sit in the back line and find opportunities to help his team instead of being up in people's face 100% of the time, and it definitely encourages your team when you take hits for the Kepri and allowing him to come in towards the middle of the fight and allowing the more damaged characters to sit in the back line and deal damage as long as they can stay coordinated. I think God's Hitman is going to do just fine, and if he gets pretty clutch revives and keeps Potty Racer alive for just another minute or even a minute cool, pretty big team fights are going to go their way.
Do you know if Kepri Revive still gets rid of the gets rid of the Doom Orb stacks?
Since they didn't die, I don't think so. I mean,
that sounds about right to me.
That it wouldn't make sense if the stacks were to be taken away. I think that'd be a glitch, honestly, as the revive, the sole purpose of it is to prevent them from dying, and the only way to lose those stacks is to die, so.
Alright. Looks like both teams going for gods that they're really comfortable with.
Yes, a lot of higher ranking gods, but a pretty similar draft on the side of Inhumans again, only switching out 3 characters and having that core of Sidon on that Erlang Shed and Potty Racer on that Thoth.
Surprised to not see that Thoth ban. Thoth with that rotation speed and was a huge part of that game, especially with his long range ult and his damage enhancing abilities.
I agree. I think that would have been a very intelligent ban to try and keep that off of Potty Racer and force him to go something like Poseidon, who's a little less good in the late game, and see if you can't try and tip advantages your way. But again, they drafted what they did and they banned what they did, and hopefully it was pretty well thought out. And if we could see them get this early game and start rolling into the mid game with a good lead, as long as they don't lose too many engagements and don't let that farm game get out of hand, they can easily bring this game back into their hands and split 1-1.
Yep, I agree. Krabby Krew really needs to take the time, figure out their game plan, and do it and execute it really well. Otherwise, they're gonna fall behind again to Inhumans.
Yes. There we go. My AI starting to come in here. God's Hitman going to be in the duo lane with Dark Mantle on Apollo using Kepri himself. Sidon going to be reprising his role as the Erlang jungle. I think he's going to have similar success if he doesn't get caught out. It looked like early game there were a couple fights that were a little questionable, but they were able to come in and win them. Potty Racer going to be on his very good Thoth, only dying once I think in the last game. And on the side of Krabby Krew, going to be rocking Kabrak Soul, Rama, Vamana, and Naja. I think a very interesting team comp, but if Tinder doesn't work and use a little bit of swagger on that Rama to try and take out Dark Mantle, or if Sneaky Beaver can make that Naja hurt a little bit, I think they're fine as long as they play careful. And again, they need to value their farm game. I want to see them getting oracles more often. I want to see them start invading. I want to see them at mids more often.
Interesting pick by Sidon to always go from behind. Looks like there's a ward there. No, he puts a ward behind and comes in from behind, usually on the wave. Why do you think he does that?
I think he just wants to make sure that a early rotation on the side of Inhumans is always possible if they can keep an eye on who's going to the red buff. They can keep an eye on who's rotating to duo. I think it's just a very useful ward and in a spot of the map that has a lot of traffic right there between the mid lane and the red buff.
Erlang Shen doing early warding. I haven't seen someone do that in forever.
I think early wards are going to start becoming more and more popular, especially in this league between teams that are a little bit closer than the average fight, or especially going into a tournament. You want to have that early ward advantage.
Yep, I totally agree. That's why I always grab at least one ward when I go out at first. Because you never know. We've seen a lot of early game ganks. And once again, he comes in from behind.
Actually just going to come in and use his otter form to, or the mink, excuse me, to try and clear the way with Potty Racer. I think a little bit of an early aggression there was probably what they had in mind, but Potty Racer got poked a little bit, so they decided just to play it safe. And then immediately go in and try to grab that speed buff.
Naja and Soul going for the red buff instead, leaving their blue buff and their speed buff open to the Erlang Shen early aggression.
Yeah, I think they're going to lose both buffs on this side in the jungle, but if they can grab oracles and maybe invade on their own accord, that won't hurt them too bad.
Vamana is a little bit less mana reliant than the Zankoi, perhaps. That's why they want that early blue buff.
Vamana has pretty easy mana bar management as long as you can max one of the abilities and focus on your auto attacks. A lot of Vamana's use 2 abilities on the wave, and that's alright if you have the blue buff, but as soon as you don't have that buff, you want to manage your mana bar a little bit better, and I think between Minakul on that John Coy and Stewart on that Vamana, that mana buff, that mana bar game good should go the way, if I can talk correctly, to Tyler.
Oh yeah. Over in duo lane, Kepri and Apollo just pushing back the Rama and the Kabrakan.
Different gods, but it's going to be a pretty similar result in that they're taking the early game into their hands, and Tinder doesn't work. Although not getting absolutely beat right now and not taking too much poke, I think he needs to make more aggressive plays on the Rama, being a little bit more smart.
Yep. Kepri and Apollo going for the purple buff here.
Over in the solo lane, looking like gonna get just a little poke on a Minocool, but I think that rotation's gonna hinder him as there's a wave in mid lane he needs to go attend to pretty soon.
Looks like Krabby Krew is gonna grab the fire creeps there.
Looking like yes, they pretty big fight going on in the right jungle right now. Sneaky Beaver looking like he's going to be pretty low on health, but not quite enough damage on the side of Inhumans yet to get a first blood there, but a pretty good showing of what they're able to do. It's going to leave them scared.
Yep. And they're already going to be nervous after this game 1.
Yes, and already the first oracles of the game going to go the side of Inhumans, already taking this early farm game very seriously, sitting at about a 700 gold lead.
Once again, Inhumans showing their experience, using their experience to get ahead with gold in the farm.
Just a little bit more managed and less excited, I think, than Krabby Krew. I think if Krabby Krew slowed down and stopped worrying so much about other things, that if they focused on the jungle and got more wards out, they could easily get that farm game back into their hands.
Yep. And as long as you just follow a pattern, you just need to, I think, for new teams, they just need to establish a pattern and just stick to it. Even if you lose it, just go to the same places, keep it up, and then once you get used to it, start looking for other ways to farm.
I think so too, and as long as they minimize the losses, and putting wards in their jungle is a good start. They lost 2 buffs in the very first couple of minutes in the game. Sidon, a very good jungler, but he's not so good that a ward he wouldn't be seen by. You've got to be able to contest your buffs, and already going for that second speed buff of the game in their side. Nowhere near it is Sneaky Beaver. He's been without a speed buff the first 4 minutes of this game, and that's going to be detrimental considering that a Sidon on that Erlang side is deadly, and him being able to rotate around the map much faster is also going to make this much harder to manage on the side of Krabby Krew.
Romano, once again, going to have to go without his blue buff as Sidon takes it for the Zonkoi.
Yes, a lot of bleed coming out on the side of a Minocool. If he wanted to tower dive right there, I think that'd be a kill. Sidon in the area too. Looking like no, it is going to ping out that blue buff and head back into the jungle. Sneaky Beaver really late with that reaction to his buffs getting stolen, but looking like he's going to get chunked right now. Sidon sticking with it and being forced to use the ultimate is Sneaky Beaver. I think he's just going to take that as a win, knowing he has a 2-level win on him, and he took his speed buff, and he was able to bait out the ultimate. A lot of swagger by Sidon. Hey, this is my jungle, and I can do this better than you.
Right, and that's
the first blood of the game, however, is going to go to a Minocool with only a sliver of health on his side. He struggled against Tyler Stewart with that Vamana in the early game, but big mistakes made. Taking too much damage is Tyler Stewart, and he stayed in lane, able to get taken out. Sneaky Beaver, however, and a lot of trouble in the mid lane, looking like another kill is going to go the way of Inhumans. Sidon getting on the board.
Good job by Inhumans on that rotation there, collapsing on that Nija, I believe. Yeah, Nija.
They're just such smart players, and they've been playing the game long enough that they know exactly how their characters are going to work against the enemy characters. I think that was very calculated by a Minocool to stick around in the solo lane, even with barely over 30% health for so long, and Tyler Stewart making the mistakes that Minocool probably predicted he would make, able to get that first blood going to him, and now a big advantage. Tyler Stewart needs to play careful.
Yep, and like I said, the Zonkoi really counters the Ramana in a lot of ways.
Over in dual lane, looking like Dark Mantle in a little bit of trouble there, but not a whole lot of follow-up coming out of Tinder doesn't work. He only has his Devs gloves online, and looking like Dark Mantle actually going to be going for a more power-driven Transcendence build with the Apollo. Tyler Stewart going to be caught out over in the right lane. Sidon getting his second kill of the game. More mistakes coming out of their solo laner, who was looking so good in the previous game, getting the first kill for his team and playing so smart with that Hercules, but letting everybody down with his Vamana currently.
Yep. What reasons do you think he went Ramana? I think Ramana is a comfort pick, perhaps?
I don't think Vamana's a bad pick at all, and I think if Vamana's in the right hands, he's actually a more popular pick and more prominent pick than anybody else would be, but I think just making mistakes and getting caught out. Sidon doing a great job.
Sidon
Body
popping the
Racer,
ult to get
however,
the
without
kill
me
for Kraken.
using his, he used his ultimate to get the kill onto the Kraken. So good job by him actually
Yep.
having pretty good aim. Last game he missed that first ult that would have gotten him the first blood, even if the kill was
Oh,
still
no,
gotten.
I said
I know.
Erling Shen uses ult.
Oh, never mind. I'm lying.
Yeah, no, Erling Shen pulled Kraken out of tower into them.
Again, yeah, I think Sidon is just so comfortable on this Erlang Shen. I wouldn't mind seeing more teams start banning this out. It's clearly working very well.
Yeah.
And again, the next
Body
speed
Racer.
buff, going to be contested. Actually, going to be able to get taken away by Sneaky Beaver with that very calculated ring toss. Unfortunate that Sidon wasn't able to get that. But if Sneaky Beaver overstays his welcome, if he goes and tries to grab that speed buff, he's dead. So I don't think this is a loss on the side of Inhumans, but it just sucks that he wasn't able to get that.
I think speed buffs are a huge part of a jungler's psyche. It's definitely their buff, and to have another jungler come in and take it is really detrimental to the morale, in my opinion. Wouldn't you agree, Tyler? And there's the counter at mid on Thoth with the Najal. Thoth popping his beads and just clearing the wave there with his abilities. Kraken coming in here on him.
Yeah, Body Racer just a little bit out of position there, but if actually the damage from the woe might be just enough. No, Body Racer gonna slip away with his life. Actually gonna be charging up that ultimate. No, not quite the range that he thought he had to get that kill. Dark Mantle, however, going to be going onto that carriage. Might be trying to make a play onto Jack without Daxter or onto Tinder doesn't work. Using his abilities to pick up the kill onto Tinder doesn't work, but Sidon was actually able to grab a kill for himself as well.
Right. I don't know. Well, what rank was Sidon with Erling Shen? Do you think it's a recently discovered fave for a jungle?
No, I think he had I think he was level 5. There was nobody with a really low ranking on their god, and I guarantee you, the way he's playing this character, there's no way he just picked it up. He knows all of his abilities, he knows his combinations, and he's been working well with his team on it. This is not a brand new pick.
Right. So there might be something that new that they're just unrolling into the tournament here.
Possibly. Tyler Stewart looking like he's going to get caught out. The ultimate from Minicool going to be what cleans him up over in the right lane. The third death for him.
And looking at player damage, Minicool actually doing the most player damage on the field right now with 3,645.
That doesn't surprise me. I think between the Vamana ultimates being pretty sustaining as well as the sustain out of him, they're both able to stay in lane for so long and just keep smacking each other. Jack without Dexter going to try and make a play onto a Minicool. Going to see if he can't smack the ground enough to get that kill. A Minicool looking like he's going to start trotting out. However, God's Hitman going to be there to back him up just in case he needed it with a sliver of health. Again, a Minicool going to be spared for a little while longer.
Good job by him to get out there. And Potty Racer caught out here, and then and here comes the charge roll.
I don't think he's caught out here. I think he dashed exactly where he needed to corner himself and make a play. Missing the sash was Sneaky Beaver, and I think that's going to be exactly what kept Potty Racer alive. Had he been stunned out there, that could have been an ultimate and plenty of time for Krabby Krew to try and give them a response.
I agree. What do you think Krabby Krew's main problem has been this game? They're definitely not playing the same as they were last game. Their fighting potential early game was really good, and then they started playing more camps this game.
Same problems. They just have the same problems where their farm game has been weak, and the kills have been going on the side of Inhumans. Their fights and their ability to pick people off is just far superior to what Krabby Krew is showing right now. Ultimates coming out on the side of the Inhumans to try and grab a pick, and a defensive ult by Krabby Krew. Dima Wow trying to peel out for their player, but Sidon and Potty Racer both able to grab kills there. Jack without Daxter, as well as Sneaky Beaver going to go down. However, Tyler Stewart able to get himself on the board, able to take out Potty Racer as well as God's Hitman.
Good job by him to get those kills.
I think that's a good job as well. And Minicool and Sidon are both there, however. They have plenty of fighting potential. Looking like Mawo almost going to get taken out. So just grouping up with their teammate right now with Sidon and Minicool going to probably go grab that blue buff and push up that right lane.
What reason do you think they picked Soul? Do you think they picked it for the escape or just the damage potential that she can do?
Soul?
Yeah.
I think it was, she's gained popularity, and I do think she's a good mid laner. She does great burst, she has good clear, and she has a really good team fight, which she has a knock up in her ultimate, a really potent slow in her too. Not a bad character at all, I just think it isn't coming together in this game. She hasn't died though.
I agree.
Demawile has not died quite yet, but unless he starts making some pretty big plays, it's not going to be quite a worth it pick for them.
Nothing really happening on the field. So let's look at the builds. Once again, Thoth going with Doom Orb.
Just like last game, I think he only died once, so he's perfectly comfortable grabbing it this game as well. He actually went down not too long ago, but he's building those stacks up pretty quick.
Looking over at Vamana's build, he's actually opting to go for the magical protections first.
And I don't blame him for that. And he's had his hands full of a Miracle Zhonghui, so getting that defense online is not something I'm going to blame him for doing.
Agree. And Soul's going to be caught out behind the...
Yeah, Demawile is in a pretty tough spot right now. I don't think she's going to be able to get out as a Miracle is able to grab that. Tyler Stewart sitting under his tower. An ultimate from Potty Racer on mark could kill him, but he's just not going to take the risk and back off. So the right lane looking like it's going to be pushed up here unless they make a play onto Fire Giant. Looking like they might be
going for this.
They're actually going to go and try and catch somebody out. Sidon able to pick up that kill onto Jack without Dexter. Sidon has been all around the map right now. Already at 5 kills and 2 assists.
If you think about it, Erling Shin does have the potential to be a great jungler, as we're seeing here. He has movement capabilities with his abilities, attack speed, pretty good damage, and the pin that's a critical as well.
And I agree with you. He's a great jungler as long as the team around him does really good with the follow-up. And between Potty Racer and Minicool, God's Hitman, he has all the tools he needs around him to stay in a fight and blindly just get as much damage and CC off onto a team for his team to back it up. Tinder doesn't work at a try and contest.
Yet.
Excuse me?
He hasn't built any items.
I'm going to go ahead and say that he's literally been out of base so long. He has not gone back to base to grab any items, and that wouldn't surprise me. But I think, well, let's check out Golden Hand. There should be one for Golden Hand, right? Yeah.
7,900.
Yeah, he has not. He has 6,449 gold in hand.
His net worth is 7,900 right now.
That is correct. So whenever he goes back to base, he's looking at a full boots, a full Jotun's Wrath. He can get whatever he wants. That's so much gold to be holding on to, and I think this just might be a swagger pick by him. I don't even need items. Yeah. I don't even need items, and I can beat you.
His confidence in his team and his own abilities is admirable.
Yes, Dark Mantle over in the duel lane was able to pick up a solo kill onto Tinder. Doesn't work. Tinder clearly not playing Rama to the degree that Dark Mantle can play, and Sidon going to be sticking to it here. But not going to be grabbing that kill. Potty Racer going to come up with the follow-up, looking like he's going to grab the kill onto Jack without Dexter. A big ultimate coming out of Potty Racer.
The mana ult incoming.
Tyler Stewart going to see if he can't make a play like he did in the last game. Sidon going to be his primary target. He doesn't have any items, which also means he doesn't have any defensive items, so he's going to get poked out pretty easy there and going to dash straight into the speed buff and see if he can't get yet another speed buff taken away from Krabby Krew.
Actually, I think he's back. He had a red pot on him. He had that red hue on him.
He might have backed and grabbed a red pot, but still sitting at 7,200 gold in hand. He still doesn't need to go back to base, regenning his mana pretty quick. And Minicool, however, I missed it, unfortunately, was able to use his ultimate and pick up another kill on Tyler Stewart, taking that advantage that he has and showing that he is the prominent solo laner. I think all 5 members of Inhumans beat all 5 members of Krabby Krew right now, so every single one of them, knowing they have this advantage, are just going to start grouping up and rolling and getting as many kills as they can before the end game.
Unfortunately, Kraken's so far behind, he hasn't even finished his second item. Looking at the builds.
I think it was a big mistake by Jack without Dexter. It looks like he started full Shoes of Focus, pretty confident with his pick to try and make an early play, but it's not going to work out. He's not getting the extra gold from Watcher's Gift, and he's not getting the extra gold from Traveler's Shoes, so far behind right now. He only has tier 2 of a robe online, and that's not going to be enough for him to sustain through a fight. He's pretty squishy.
I agree. Looks like Najat and Soul were looking for that tier 2 mid tower on protecting their tier 2 by Krabby Krew. Thoth in mid lane with Kepri. Looks like they're about to push down. Soul and Kraken along with Najat going to mid lane here. Looks like there's going to be a group up. Looks like there's potential for a fight with Erling Shin coming in from right jungle here. Erling Shin behind them now. Looking for the chance to gank. He comes on in, throws his spear, gets the pin onto Kraken, and Kraken goes down.
Sidon doing a good job there, just finding the weakness in their team fire right now and noticing that Jack without Dexter was low enough to where they can get him pretty quick. However, staying with the fight now. Massive heal for him. Potty Racer up. Big ultimate gonna take out Tinder. Doesn't work. Not 1 second of hesitation out of him. Sidon in a lot of trouble here. They're revived by God's Hitman, however, going to keep him alive. Like I said, if he can just keep players alive, even when they shouldn't be, it's going to be pretty big on their end. And Humans clearly showing that their Khepri is perfectly capable of doing just that.
Definitely living up to the name Superman.
Sidon, you need to go back to base. You're sitting on 8,000 gold. What are you doing, dude?
He's having
a good game, and he's 6-0-4. I don't think he even wants to go back to base. I think his goal right now is just to finish the game with only 2 starter items, which I think is awfully rude, but maybe he'll back after that. Oh, finally looking like he's going to back. Nope.
No.
Deciding against it. I don't need to back. That's not enough gold for me. Boots, who needs them? He doesn't need boots, actually. Honestly, he's been getting his boots out of the enemy jungle speed buff, so he could be thanking Sneaky Beaver for the movement speed he doesn't need to buy boots for.
What do you think Krabby Krew needs to improve on if they want to be contenders in this league here?
All around, every single role has a lot to improve on. I think Tyler Stewart is, from what I've seen, he's been caught out a lot, he's been beaten a lot, but he's made some pretty shining plays in team fights, and I think he understands his characters in the game a little bit more than the Inhumans, but I think all around just synergizing well and playing a little bit more as a unit and warding better, early farm, everything. It just sucks that they're in the situation they are right now and getting beat as bad as they do, but if they could look back at this clip and say, hey, if I'd have warded here, that wouldn't have happened. If I'd have been here, this wouldn't have happened. If I'd have built this and not picked this, and looking at every little thing they can start to improve on. Big ultimate's coming out of the way in mid lane. Jax without Daxter looking like he might be the first victim. Potty Racer able to pick him up. Sneaky Beaver gonna be able to get an ultimate onto God's Hitman. Looking like God's Hitman gonna be going down to Sneaky Beaver.
And you can say that crab's been steamed.
That is a cooked crab.
Yeah, it's a cooked crab. Yeah, there you go. You're getting into it now. Gotta use those puns.
I think puns are pretty great, but you can't overuse them. You get people pissed off. Dark Mantle not worrying about 3 players he's up against right now. Bursting down Moe, only a few auto attacks out of him. He's pretty far ahead. A double kill. Sneaky Beaver sticking with it. Looking like Tinder doesn't work. Is going to be his next victim. Can he get it? No, Tinder doesn't work. Actually, Dark Mantle had the damage to get Tinder doesn't work. So Dark Mantle clutch plays right there, able to get a triple kill onto Tinder doesn't work with his final victim.
But
both
Tinder's
of them going down. Yes, Tinder with a shut down. I'll hand that to him, but pretty swag-tastic plays coming out of the side of Dark Mantle.
Yeah, definitely good plays by Dark Mantle. Dark Mantle, unsung hero of this game, doing great damage inconsistently with his team to put that damage output along with that split push from.
Definitely not an unsung hero. I haven't had the camera on him, but all game has been pushing up left lane, getting solo kills onto Tinder doesn't work, just doing everything he needs to as a hunter to keep the lead in his way and coming towards his mid game. We'll see plenty more of him as he's grouping up, and his auto attacks are hitting pretty hard. He already has 2.5 crit items online and 3 stacks on his rage.
I agree.
All by himself in the mid lane, Potty Racer, but looking like the rest of his team going to be looking like they're going to try and push down that right tower, going to make the decisions as to what they're going to grab first. Potty Racer looking like he's going to be trying to grab a kill onto Tyler Stewart, missing the ult completely. Tyler Stewart definitely heard that and looked like he's going to be on full retreat right now, but he doesn't know that Potty Racer's right behind him. However, Potty Racer might be in a little bit of trouble here in the back line, playing a little bit too confidently, but the dash is going to be plenty enough to get him back to his team. A lot of damage coming out in this fight over in right lane. Jack without Dexter just walking straight into 3 members of Inhumans. Looking like the bleed from a Minicool is going to take him out. Nothing much that Krabby Krew can do right now.
Really, they just need to focus on grouping up and finding a way to pick off enemies one by one. Because at this point, Erling Shen is 1v5ing them with no items.
Dark Mantle and Sidon were actually able to solo the Gold Fury, and finally, with 10,300 gold in hand, Sidon is going back to base, grabbing full boots, chin size, Executioner, and he has enough for another item if he wants it. Probably just deciding what's the next full item. He wants
Rage.
A Deathbringer, of course. Of course.
My bad. Yeah.
That was a really long out of base stand by him, but good for him to show how good of a sustained character he is.
Erling Shen's potential to be banned in Humans' next few games is really high right now.
I think Erlang Shen is just Sidon's cup of tea. I haven't seen any point of weakness from him. He got caught out, but able to use his abilities effectively to keep himself out of any major trouble, and he was able to stay out of base until he was level 17 or 18, and he went back to base and grabbed 4 full items. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that is ridiculous.
Doesn't ever happen in Smite, but for Sidon it does.
Sidon is Sidon, what can I say? And Erlang Shen going in here and just absolutely melting Daxter out Daxter.
Oh, he
and
might.
he goes down.
Oh, Sidon unable to remain perfect, going down to Tyler Stewart. And Minicool looking like he might be the next victim here. If they can make a play onto it, they could get a kill. The Najal shouldn't be what finishes him off, but God's Hitman coming down mid lane to see if he can't save his solo laner. Unfortunately, the damage from Krabby Krew is going to be enough to take him down. So with 3 versus 5 advantage, actually 3 versus 4 advantage.
What do you think went wrong there for Sidon?
He just got caught out, played a little bit too confidently, went straight in the mid lane. I think he bursted them down because he had 4 items. They didn't realize that he had online. They might not have been paying attention, but he just went a little risky and it didn't pay off for him. Except to get one kill.
We'll see any protection items eventually?
Potentially. He doesn't have to, but he could. I think he's so far ahead that the amount of damage he does is not going to be something Krabby Krew has an answer to, but he could, and it'd be perfectly useful.
And
big team fight coming out of mid lane there. The ultimate from Jack without Daxter gonna not hit the mark. Just sustaining down the mid lane, and a lot of low health players on the side of Krabby Krew. They really got to be careful about engaging Inhumans right now.
Right. Small victory in that team fight, even though it was, they have to still be careful.
Yes. Dark Mantle using the Apollo ult, looking like he's going to be going down onto Sneaky Beaver to finish up that kill right there. Only a couple of auto attacks should get Jack without Daxter, but unable to grab that right there. Potty Racer going to be taken out by Tyler Stewart. A gleaming, actually a pretty good thing for them to look at after this game is that their solo laner did do well. He's not doing fantastic, and he definitely didn't shut anybody down, but getting taken out there is the man in question. But if they can start rallying behind Tyler Stewart and seeing if maybe his ideas are a little bit better than the rest, they might be able to find gains here.
Yeah, definitely, for teams to improve, like you've said many a time, they have to go watch the pro games, they have to talk to other players. And there's so many good players in the league, and like I haven't seen any communication between teams looking for advice or anything on the page.
I see it on the page pretty often that people want to play with other people, but I think just swallowing your pride and saying, hey, I'm pretty sure we have a good idea as to what we're going for here, but what are the things that we're doing wrong? And I think top 3 right now, for sure, is warding effectively and making sure that your buffs are your buffs, that you secure your jungle as well as possible. Oracles, you need to get more oracles. Mid camps, you need to get those more often. I think their farm game is going to be what needs to improve. Their team fights aren't terrible. I don't see any player on their team that is blatantly bad. Jack without Daxter could be contending for that, but I think that he's just went for an early game start to try and get a good lead on his side. Dark Mantle going to be able to take him out there, but I think their support is who's going to need to clean up their play the most. Pretty laggy right now for me. Is it pretty laggy for you? There we go, cleaning up now. Tyler Stewart going to be the victim. Dark Mantle getting his 2nd kill of that team fight. Potty Racer going to clean up Mowo. Looking like this is going to be that end game push that I was talking about. Sidon able to get a kill onto Tinder doesn't work. The last member, Sneaky Beaver, going back to his well to heal up and see if he can't make last second defense for their Titan.
Are you squidding me right
Instead of
now?
going for the end game, looks like you're going to go back to base. Coop and Potty Racer going to stay in top lane. Not a bad idea by Sidon to go back to base and heal up, and he actually going to grab more crit. He got the demonic grip, or not the demonic grip, the Wind Demon.
Wind Demon, yep. Having full tier Sunder and full tier Horrify, he's just a force to be reckoned with. No one's going to get away from him, especially with that Mink form.
I don't think so. He's a huge force to be reckoned with right now.
And he was taking that Fire Giant.
Pretty easy Fire Giant, and no need to contest on the side of Krabby Krew. Anybody who went into that layer, even with the Fire Giant attacking Inhumans, it's just suicide to go up against them. Gripping up mid lane, Dark Mantle and God's Hitman looking like they're going to make the first push to try and get into that Titan's lair, but I think getting another Phoenix here wouldn't be a bad idea to just start and try and spread the damage out and force the members of Krabby Krew to go down different lanes and trying to defend their base. Sidon going to be the one to go in, missing his stun, but able to get a 3-man taunt. big amounts of damage. Dak without Dax are going to be the first one to go down. And Aegis coming out from Tinder doesn't work. Pretty afraid of that damage coming out of Potty Racer, but Tyler Stewart going to be charging down the mid lane to try and peel out for his team. Potty Racer not able to grab that kill onto Sneaky Beaver, but looking like Tyler Stewart caught out Sidon with only a couple of auto attacks, able to chunk him down.
Yep. Erling Shen doing a lot of damage, melting with that Quinn side for any tanky heroes.
Yes, Dark Mantle looking like he's going to go and try and grab those minions and try and push up that left lane, but he doesn't really need to do that. They're already tanking it and grabbing it by themselves without his help. I think Dark Mantle will be much more effective up in that team fight, but it doesn't really matter. The 4 members of Inhumans are going to be easily outweighing the 5 members of Krabby Krew. Sidon, a couple of auto attacks away from a double kill here if he can go grab it. No, actually just going to jump around and easily get his way out of that base. However, they're going to continue their onslaught into the Titan's lair.
And being held back by Soul into Bracken, and Soul goes down to Potty.
Potty Racer 100-0 on Mawao, just using his stun and his and the damage from his clear.
I mean, Thoth damage, OP, right? I'm just kidding. No,
arguably, it's arguably overpowered, and he was able to show exactly how good a Thoth is from ahead. Tyler Stewart, a couple of attacks coming out of Dark Mantle, looking like he's going to keep his onslaught into the lair. Triple kill for Dark Mantle, another triple kill for him. And a deicide coming out. Sneaky Beaver going to be a victim. Potty Racer getting another kill. And looking like to turn their sights onto the Titan for good. Nobody else going to spawn pretty soon. Swag-tastic plays coming out the side of Inhumans, grabbing both games pretty convincingly. A lot to work on for Krabby Krew.
Yep.
All right, so that was game 2. 2 convincing victories by Inhumans. 4-0 is the Inhumans, being pretty big contenders for that tournament right now. Krabby Krew falling to 2-2. Still, even they can make plenty of good moves in their block if they wanted to. But for now, looking like they're gonna have to take this loss, go look at what they did wrong, and see if they can't find better ideas out of more players and try and grab the next set that they have.
Yep. Good game. Both teammates, both teams just.
A little bit of last-second advertising. Tomorrow night, the End versus Sauce Gods only. I'm going to be that hunter. Come watch your boy. Come watch your main man. But that's going to be
find another announcer.
Yeah, Sauce Gods, they're 2-0 as well as the End, so that's going to be another big battle of the Titans. Hopefully a little bit better than this game, but this has been Tyner57 and the Reaper casting this game for you. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to be signing out.
All right, good night.